Hey guys, it's Eric and
Vanessa.
it's This Feral Life. This is going to be episode what, 8ish?
Yeah.
8ish, 9ish, something like that. I've lost count. Today's episode is going to be about emergency preparedness. Just kind of like lists of supplies and like how did you put it earlier? You were like
Contingency
plan.
Yeah, you got to have a contingency plan for everything, guys.
Yeah.
If you've got one, you've got none. If you got two, you got one.
Yeah, I mean, contingency plans are pretty big in the news right now, given the whole sub-sinking thing, and nobody had any contingency whatsoever to go like, what happens if the batteries run out in the remote control? Nobody knew until it sank. So contingency plans and kind of a list of supplies, what we kind of keep on hand, and what we think you should keep on hand. It's a very frustrated 3-year-old over there. Four. Was there like a word for a 4-year-old? Is it like a? It's not
terrible four.
Terrible fours.
Ferocious four.
Ferocious fours. She's just like dramatic fours. I think it's mostly dramatic fours. She's just to the point where she's got like lots of feelings, and there was an ad on her YouTube, and so she had a big, giant, overly dramatic sigh just now, which was great. So let's just jump right into it and talk about supplies. Now, pretty much every governmental agency out there has a list of supplies. There's ready.gov, the Red Cross, FEMA, CDC, and they're all basically the same. They're all basically cookie cutter stuff from, it looks like, the old Boy Scouts manuals. There's really nothing crazy on there. Let's see. Let's just look at the ready.gov kit real quick. It says water, a gallon of water per person per day, food. It just says food, several days supply of food. Mm-hmm. Yay, thanks, guys.
Non-perishable foods.
Yeah. Battery or hand crank radio and a NOAA Earth radio with the tone alert, flashlight, first aid kit, batteries, whistle, dust mask, plastic sheeting. They watch that too many TV shows. Plastic sheet is not going to help you much.
Towelettes.
Moist towelette, garbage bags, and plastic ties. Wrench or pliers. Manual can opener, local map, cell phone battery with chargers. Then it says it's added stuff since the spring of 2020. So now it added like basically COVID supplies and prescription medications, non-prescription medications, pain relievers, antidiarrheal, and acids and laxatives. Prescription eyeglasses, infant formula, pet food, some cash, important family documents, some sleeping bags. This is all pretty like feminine personal hygiene supplies, paper, books, matches. It's all pretty easy stuff. And I'm going to build very heavily upon this list and recommend actual things instead of just generic, right? First off, you don't really want to store stuff in your first aid kit. Your kit that you're not going to want to eat or use. Like, there's no use storing like 14 cans of pears if you don't eat pears, like canned pears, right? So as far as a gallon of water per person per day, your average tank water heater in a house is 45 to 50 gallons of water. There's a neat little spigot down there at the bottom that will let you drain that. As long as your water heater is in good shape, you can unplug it, turn it off, and drain that, and you have 50 gallons of water. If it's in good shape, relatively new, then you don't even have all the hard water buildup and stuff in it. You can also not flush your toilets and use the water out of the back of the tank of those toilets. There's another couple gallons. If you're in an office building, there's always the lowest supply pipe in the office building. That's going to get you several hundred gallons of water. So, I mean, there's always stashes of water like around in your house, even if you think that nothing's going to happen. Now, one of those things that I do like is if you know, let's say there's a big storm, hurricane coming, anything like that, then they sell these really neat, they're made out of polycarbonate, I think, or PVC liner. They line your bathtub, and they have a little hole in the top that you just put them down. You lay them in your bathtub. You turn your bathtub on. It fills up your entire bathtub full of water, but it fills up these big PVC bladders full of water, and then you put the cap on it, and now you have 7,500 gallons of clean, safe drinking water right there. Those work great. Big fan of them. There's even a little kit that hooks a hose to it, a hand pump, so you don't have to try to dip water out of it or anything like that. It works super, super good. Those work great. 55-gallon drum barrels. If they're blue ones, they're food grade. They work super good too if you want to store some water long term. Man, there's so many different ways to store water. There's even Amazon's got the cubes, the water cubes. Those work really well. You do want to rotate that water. One of the things that would suck would be to be in an emergency situation, grab a water cube, and go to drink it, and it tastes like mildew. Will it kill you? No. Is it going to taste bad? Yes. So you could treat the water before you put it in there with hydrogen peroxide or some little bleach. But honestly, just rotating it every once in a while, taking it out, either drinking it or watering your garden with it, letting the container dry out completely, spraying the inside down with a little star sand or something else, and then letting it dry and then refilling it. And that's just, probably once every 6 months to a year type situation. And it's really going to help you with water. You're never going to be in a situation where like, dang, I wish I didn't store so much water.
And we're not telling you to put a whole bottle of bleach. It's actually 2 tablespoons of fresh, unscented regular bleach per 55-gallon drum. So just to get a better idea.
Just a tiny bit. Yeah, so it's just a little bit.
And I'm a big fan of water catchment systems too.
Yeah, but then you have to deal with you're gonna have to filter it then. Because and anything coming off of a roof that has shingles on it, you really don't want to be drinking it. It's got all that tar.
I was thinking more
bugs.
rainwater.
Yeah, but the rain comes off the roof. How do you catch it if it doesn't come off the roof?
Don't you hook up like a PVC that
goes to your roof?
Okay. I stand corrected. My bad.
Yeah. Metal roofs, you guys. So metal roofs, if you're gonna do you're gonna do a water catchment system with your metal roof. One thing that everybody does is they just dump it all into one big water supply and then go from there. I would challenge you to do something different.
If you would have a more sophisticated setup, can't you filter it?
Yes, but I would challenge you to do something different or reduce the amount of filtration you need. As the first, if you've got a big storm coming in, the first 4 or 5 minutes of hard rain, just let it run out in the ground. And then just have a valve you can turn that'll start storing it after that. It'll wash all the bird poop, dust, sand, everything off your roof. And then so everything you're storing there afterwards is going to rain catchment system is relatively clean. Wash the dead bugs and everything off that got stuck on your roof over the last month or two since the last big rain. Just let them go out there in the grass. You don't want to store it. As far as so we're talking about water. So as far as the filtration systems go, I'm a big fan of Berkey. And Berkey, if you would love to get a hold of us, we will sponsor you, or you can sponsor us. Sorry, the other way around.
Yeah, we will not sponsor you. You can sponsor us.
Yeah. We already sponsor you by owning your products. But those work super, super well, guys. Berkey systems. Berkeys are expensive. They're expensive, but they're worth it. If you don't want to spend the money on a big Berkey system, the poor man Berkey works just fine. You can buy the filters. Filters are not that expensive. And using a step-down drill bit, drill it into a 5-gallon bucket you get from Home Depot, screw the filters into that, and rock and roll. And that's like a poor man's Berkey. It's a 2-bucket system. You have the bucket up on top and the bucket on the bottom, and you can do 5 gallons at a time. So it works. The poor man's Berkey works super well. It filters just as well as the fancy stainless steel Berkey, except that it doesn't look nearly as shiny on your kitchen countertop, and it says Home Depot on it. Or Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply, you guys make good food grade buckets too. It's just pick a orange or white or red.
Ooh, shiny. You don't want the shiny one.
Yeah, the shiny one's the one you want. Yeah, you want the real actual Berkey.
Yeah,
because it's really pretty. So there's a bunch of other different types of water filtration. You got Sawyer type systems. You've got the little Katadyn hand pump types. But I like passive things, something you can set up, leave alone, and just rock and roll with it. And if I'm going to do something that's like if I'm hiking and decide that I need a water filtration system at the time, then one of the straw versions that hook onto a like a Camelback hydration system, those work great. Those are fine. Live straw is not a water filter. Like, I mean, okay, it doesn't work the same way, right? It's not going to get rid of like hard mineral, like hard metals and stuff. The live straws uses ultraviolet light and stuff to kill like a lot of different bacteria and stuff. I believe they do actually have a filtration one as well.
Which ones are the straws that we have in our bug out bags?
Both. We have the filtration one, which works good, and then we have the UV lighty one. Okay. Yeah. And it's just running it through the UV lighty one, and then to kill all your protozoa, your bacteria, your viruses, and whatnot, and then you can just drink it with the other one. But that's in our like, oh, everything has gone to hell, and we need to leave our house. And the only way you're getting us to do that is like drop a nuke close enough that we need to run away from the radiation. Other than that, we're not leaving.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some emergencies that you'd want to prepare for. So we have earthquakes, tornadoes, emergency evacuations, droughts, thunderstorms, floods, tropical cyclone, terrorism, power outages, explosions, things like that. So
there's kind of the feral rule of emergencies, right? And the feral rule of emergencies is going to be the more people that an emergency involves, the less likely it is to happen. All right. So like an emergency to you would be that you break your leg and can't go to work, right? Or like me, because I have to walk around a lot. I break my leg and I can't go to work. So that's an emergency for our family and an emergency to us. And that's why we store like money and stuff like that, so we can float our way through places. But that is more likely to happen than an asteroid hitting the Earth, right? So the more people that are involved in it, like a localized flood is much more likely to happen than a extreme hurricane that takes out 4 cities, So the more people involved, the less likely it is to happen. And she agrees. So we've got at most of these, like, there'll be some specialty items for specific events. That was a lot of S's. But other than that, there's almost everything is universal. Like food. Don't store a bunch of stuff that you have to cook really like beyond add hot water to. Right? And this is where your freeze-dried meals come into it. Ramen works really well for this if you're just going like the broke boy way. As like ramen and those kind of stuff. You can find a surprising amount of freeze-dried stuff at the Asian stores. Mm-hmm. Like a surprising amount of cheap freeze-dried things.
And freeze-dried food is pretty pricey. So, I mean, even if getting a small freeze dryer is probably worth it to help you prepare in the event of anything happening.
We're spoiled in that way because we have 2 freeze dryers.
They're pretty convenient.
Yeah. We have freeze dryers. We spent the time to get freeze dryers because we found a way to monetize them through selling candy and foods and all sorts of different baby foods and all sorts of different things. So that's one thing you guys should look into is just like a little side business. If you can make it pay for itself. And what the monthly payments on the big one was like $130 a month? Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything. That was like one batch of candy paid for the whole dang thing. Mm-hmm. And then we figured out it costs about $4 every time we run it in power.
Yep.
And for us, for even just storing food,
it's nice.
$4 to store like, oh man, what fits in that big one? Like
we've done spaghetti, we've done
they're
beans,
40 pounds,
we've
35,
done mashed
40 pounds
potatoes.
fit for the big one, right?
We've done all kinds of stuff.
I think like what 30 pounds of stuff fits in the big one.
30 pounds.
So 30 pounds of food fits in the big one, and I mean it runs $4 to run it, and it allows us to store everything we've done. Yeah, whole meals, meats, vegetables, everything. Okay, one caveat with freeze dry. It's good. However you put it in there, it's going to come out exactly the same when you add water to it. So if you put raw steak in there, you're going to get raw steak out. It does not cook anything. It just freeze dries it. So you can freeze dry raw steak just fine and store it forever and ever on a shelf, 25-year shelf life if you store it correctly. I like wallaby bags. Those are the bags.
Mhm.
The wallaby bags with a couple of the those little moisture absorber thingamajigs in there, and
Oxygen
yeah,
absorbers.
then heat seal the bag, and heat seal the bag, and you're good to go.
Food grade oxygen absorbers.
Yeah.
There's different types, so make sure you get the food grade ones.
But then you can take that steak out there. You're not just going to add hot water to it and have a steak again. You're going to add water to it. That steak's going to come out raw. It's going to look like you just bought it at the grocery store. Now you need to cook it. So you're not doing yourself any favor by storing raw meat.
Oh, soups are really good to store too.
Oh, yeah.
So if you make a stew for the family and you have excess, then it's great to just freeze dry that, package them up, and then
beef
add
stew
water
does
later.
really,
Beef
really
stew is
good.
really good.
Chicken soup does really good.
Yeah, chili.
Chili does great.
Mhm. Eggs.
Eggs
like
do really
scrambled
good.
eggs.
One thing that the freeze dryers don't do well is fat. So,
The more fat the food has, the harder it is for it to freeze dry.
And the faster it goes bad.
Yeah, it stays like rancid. I'm not a fan. 10 out of 10 do not recommend.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 do not recommend. So yeah, so if you're gonna do like a fatty soup or something, you're gonna want to let it cool and congeal, and then take all the fat off the top, right? And then that's one of the really fast and easy ways to get rid of all the fat in something. Cool it down and let it congeal on top, and then just lift that fat layer up off the top, put it out, just pour it in your trays that way, liquid and all. It's all gonna freeze dry, and then
we get fancy in this house. We even did Toscana soup.
Oh yeah,
we
did.
freeze dried that, and that came out really well.
Did
really well.
What else did we? We did all sorts of stuff. We made backpacking meals.
Backpacking meals, applesauce,
all
kinds
sorts
of
of
stuff.
things, really. And one cool thing about what happens with pasta, like if you do a pasta dish and you freeze dry it, all it takes is a little bit of hot water and it goes right back to pasta. It doesn't turn mushy. It doesn't get all crazy or anything. It just goes right back to it. Same with rice, any type of dish like that.
Rice does really well.
Yeah, it's way better than like your instant rice. Like it does way better. So kind of a side note there, if you can get one, get one. And I believe we're going to work on trying to get an affiliate link for those guys so that we can get you guys a discount as far as going through like Harvest Right. But yeah, their layaway plan is really easy. They're not going to ship it to you until it's paid for, but you don't have to pay. There's no minimum amount of months you can pay. You can pay as much or little as you want. And then they're going to ship it to you once it's paid for. That might take you a while, but it is what it is. Alternately, you can finance them in any bunch of different ways. We chose to finance our big one through, I believe, a firm, right? Because a firm had this special with Harvest Right where it was 0% interest for like 24 months, and the payment ended up being like I put a couple $100 down, and the payment was like $130 a month, and just couldn't beat it because it shipped, got here within like a week, and we had it to play with, so we didn't have to worry about it being on layaway forever. And we've really put those things to work.
Yeah, we have.
And it's very, very easy to make them pay for themselves. I keep saying that, but it's super, super easy. Freeze dry milk. Heck, there's a whole bunch of mommy groups out there who freeze dry breast milk, like excess breast milk for the hospitals. And it works great. You just have to add water to it, and it goes right back to being the whole breast milk. So if you've got cattle, that would work good for that. If you've got just, as far as like all your garden variety vegetables, you can dehydrate them, can them, or freeze dry them. And we choose to freeze dry as much as possible. It is extremely lightweight. Everything fits in really cheap little Mylar bags, and you can stack them in crates. And I can go and pick up an entire year's worth of food packed into a 55-gallon drum. And it's not just like beans and rice. It's not just food we don't want to eat. It's like basically leftovers of everything we ate that year. And go and pick it up and in a 55-gallon drum barrel if it's freeze dried and just throw it in the back of my truck without breaking my back or hurting myself in any way because it's so lightweight. Yeah, and I mean everywhere is different as far as the food cottage industry laws go, and I don't believe there's a lot of laws around freeze dried stuff yet, but there's a lot of leeway there for you to be able to make a side gig out of freeze drying. You've got everybody's favorite is the candies, but now everybody and their mom's kind of freeze drying candies. There's other things.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if like candy manufacturers crack down really hard because you're basically taking their product and freeze drying it and monetizing
and making it way better.
It's their brand. Yeah, I mean, in some cases making it
way better.
But I'm sure there's some. I already know that like
Skittles,
Mars is already coming down on freeze dry businesses.
Yeah, people are using their
Skittles,
logos. Yeah. People are using their logos and stuff.
Yeah. So it's a little tricky there. I wouldn't recommend freeze drying candy. I'm not a big fan of it. I tend to stick to the healthy things because people like healthy alternatives to snacking. For example,
strawberries.
One of my favorites is the red bell peppers.
Oh, those are great.
We freeze dry them as a potato chip alternative. So we freeze dry the bell peppers and we dip them in hummus, and it will change your life. It'll rock your world. It is like the best thing.
And there's plenty of room there, wiggle room there within the cottage industry laws for you to be able to do that and sell that as a packaged chip product.
Right.
So,
and here in Texas, the cottage industry laws are pretty lax,
extremely relaxed,
honestly. Yeah. Compared to like some East Coast states. So,
yeah. So that's kind of off the high horse as far as freeze drying. You got any more freeze dry high horse to get on?
No. we just love it that much. But yeah, and if you guys have any questions on that, this episode wasn't intended to be solely on freeze drying, but let us know if you have questions. We'll be happy to answer those.
Now the freeze dryer is completely useless as soon as the power goes out.
Yeah, there you go. So back to contingencies. So we got food. We defined the types of emergencies that would require, those types of contingencies.
You're going to want your canned foods, canned soups and stews, any freeze-dried food you can pick up. And you're going to want to look at the middle of winter at your Academy Sports or your Sports and How Good stores. When nobody's camping, a lot of the times they're clearing out that year's freeze-dried meals, like the Mountain House meals and stuff like that. And you can go and pick them up for really cheap. So just keep your eyes out during the winter times.
And then you have, your canned formula, obviously, if you have a baby. But also think of other ways, right? Canned formula is super expensive. I get it. I'm a new mom. My baby's 4 years old now, but I went through that whole phase. But if you're thinking of a long-term solution, we're talking like 72 hours to a year. I know that's kind of,
that's a really big.
Yeah, that is. But let's think about a year, right? Like your baby's going to grow, so start, freeze drying some milk, some like actual gallons of milk. Like that freeze dries really well. It turns into a powder. It does require a lot of time to freeze dry, but I've seen people do it. So.
Yeah, but to me, it's not really worth it when you can buy the freeze dried milk. But the freeze dried milk, we got some in here we use for pancakes.
Yeah,
that it's cheap. It comes in a big 10-pound bag.
Or a couple of bags of freeze dried milk. Eric's right.
That
way you have
cheap.
that. You have those stages. Like you also, if you have a baby, you have to think about the stages of how they eat.
We stored a lot of that Nandu. What is it called?
Nano.
I don't know. It's the baby drink. It's called a toddler drink. And man, we have some somewhere. I can't remember what it's called now. But it's real good. It works great. Storing some of that is not going to hurt you at all. And even if your kid's a little bit older, storing one of those, just in case you get to a point where you're eating like crappy food, you can always supplement them by giving them one of those toddler drinks. And it's going to give them all the vitamins and minerals and fats and stuff they need. Just in case like you're down to beans and rice, eventually you can always give your kiddo a boost so they don't end up with like neurological issues later in life.
Yogurt freeze dries really well too.
Yeah, it does.
So like little
yogurt drops are awesome.
We did yogurt drops as toddler snacks, which is really cool. Again, we just are big fans of knowing what our toddler's eating. So yogurt drops were a big go for us. Like they were a must-have.
Yeah, corn surprisingly.
Corn freeze dries, yeah.
That
So,
turned into a great snack.
I freeze dried. I'm Hispanic, so I freeze dried elote because I was like, oh, let me freeze dry elote. Let me see what corn
It
tastes
didn't
like
stick
freeze
to the
dried.
corn.
It did the spices didn't stick to the corn. However, it still tasted very lemony and still very spicy too. It was actually really good. And then all you would do is add a little bit of water, butter, and
We
you got
eat it all the
elote.
time.
Yeah,
Like,
so it was perfect.
We had like several gallon bags of it
Yeah.
at the one time.
I was
sitting around.
I got in this mode of like, okay, let me figure out like healthy alternatives, snack alternatives, right? Like, what people really want but don't have, like they only have access to like chips and all the fatty stuff. So I was like, let's go with something cool. And so we were exploring different options, and that's how I explored with elote, and it was great actually. So
yeah, I mean, it's super
definitely
easy
a
to
staple in this household now.
We still use some of that corn because, like I said, several gallon bags.
Yeah.
Then, like, when we need to go, like, if I need some corn for some corn and potatoes or something like that, I just go get some of that, toss it in some hot water, and back to corn. Little spicy, little lemony corn.
Yeah.
But hey, it's corn. But it works out really, really well. As far as now, let's see, on this ready.gov, the next one is battery-powered hand crank radio and a NOAA weather radio with tone alert. I'm going to go ahead and just say, get yourself a Baofeng UV5R or UV8R. It is it's a radio. It does one of those ones. Those guys have that cult about it, and they hate to let people in on it. That's the radio. Whether people have a cult, it's not. I mean, like it's not really a cult, but it's like the one where you need to have a license to do it. Man, I've never really just look up Baofeng UV5R. You don't need any of that. You don't need a weather radio license. She gets so mad. So it's amateur radio. It's the 2A radios. It's man, it's got a word. It's got a specific name, and my brain went completely blank on it. But one of the things I like about these is the UV5R is
Part 90 license. They can be used with a Part 90 license.
That doesn't. No, it's called something radio. Amateur radio, ham radio. That's what it's called. Ham radio, high altitude frequency modulation. So, it's a ham radio. Those guys, they're starting to get nicer about it, but like 10 years ago, ham radio operators were just dicks, and that was because there was just like a whole bunch of old fogies who didn't want any of these new young people coming in here and messing up our radios. And then they realized that everybody was dying off that had a ham radio license. And so they've made it a lot easier to get a ham radio license.
I think I knew a ham radio operator
who was an old cranky guy, right? So UV5Rs are the older ones. Then UV8Rs are now the newer, bester ones. I like them. They're cheap. You can get a whole bunch of them in a big old, like 5R. The number indicates the amount of watts, the power watts, right? So 5R, 8R, stuff like that. I love them. They have a built-in flashlight, SOS, weather radio, scanning local, police, fire, EMS, all of the radio stations, even like that walkie-talkie type. You can set them to scan the high altitude stuff. You can listen to like the space station on a clear night.
Do you think a Baofeng UV5R radio would have come in handy for that submarine?
Maybe.
The SOS on it? I mean, I'm just thinking, guys. And the reason we wanted to talk about contingencies, because, like, holy shit, they went out. They submerged like deeper than anything ever has.
2 miles, 2.5 miles.
2.5 miles. No contingencies. With literally a PlayStation running their operation.
Well, no, the PlayStation controller.
Oh,
did you guys
PlayStation controller?
Did you see the inside of the thing? Right, it only has one
button.
Yeah.
One button. Like, what were they thinking? I mean, I have contingencies for getting a flat tire.
I have a contingency for a contingency.
Yeah, contingency on top of contingency. Like. I just don't understand, like, what the thought process was when they're like, let's go where no one's gone before.
It'll be fine.
It'll be great. We have one button here. This is our rescue mission
you
button.
You can't mess it up if it has one button.
Yeah, I don't know.
So the one button is like, so its default is off, which is a red ring. And it's They push it and it goes green and connects to the remote
Yeah.
control.
And we're not trying to be insensitive.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
we
It's coming across
much
as
love to the
insensitive.
families that are worried. And I don't want to come across as insensitive. It's just really mind blowing how what the
Did
thought
anybody
process was.
check the batteries in the remote control?
Yeah, what was your plan if XYZ failed? What was your, do people have a mapped area of where you're going to be? Things like that.
On this tangent, I'd also like to point out that for the first 50 some odd hours of the search, they were just looking on top of the water. Right? They lost connection with them way down deep in the ocean, but they're like, oh, they'll just return to the surface. Well, if they couldn't return to the surface, let's say you lost your child in a mall, and what you would say, go here if you get lost, right? So why did nobody until literally 3 hours ago think to look around the Titanic?
As of 12 minutes ago, they're still hearing banging in that area, but they can't pinpoint the source of the area.
I'm going to go ahead and say near the Titanic.
Yeah.
Because
that was their destination.
They know, like a toddler. Like, if my little remote was losing battery, I didn't have enough to make it to the surface, but I could glide and crash right next to the Titanic, where everybody in the world knows where the Titanic's at. And it's the only spot on the ocean that everybody knows.
Everybody knew that's
where it's
exactly where we were going.
Where you're supposed to go. Like the toddler, go to the kiosk, right? They went to the kiosk. But the problem with that is that there's no way to get them. Like, nobody knows how to get down 2.5 miles deep. Yeah.
Again, what was the thought process and contingency behind that? It would have been cool if they had another device like that, another
or a grapple
like that, or
or anything.
1 is none, 2 is 1.
Yeah, this was really not well thought out.
Yeah,
and they fired wasn't it the CEO? They fired the CEO last year because he was like, guys, this is really not safe, and there's no contingency plan, and we don't know what to do if the controller runs out of batteries.
He was a party pooper.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Nothing will happen.
Quit being negative.
Wait until we get a whole boatload full of billionaires. We'll show them. Yeah, it's just, humans, man. You guys are so awesome. You can do so many cool things, and then turn around and run to the first. More people have been in space than the bottom of the ocean. Okay, and then to put all of it, rely on 2 AA batteries, which everybody knows AA batteries suck in the cold, right? And it's 29 degrees down there. And nobody's like, hey, anybody just got some extra batteries on you?
Does everybody know really that they suck in the cold? Not really. Probably. I mean,
it's not common knowledge.
No, probably not.
Your car batteries die in the cold all the time. Car batteries suck in the cold.
Hey, billionaires don't Google those things.
Yeah, billionaires. Yeah, whatever. It's a battery. It works on magic. So anyway, the UV8R. We need the lost goat of tangents. Anyways, so the tangent goat. UV8R, dude, big, huge fan of these things. We have 6, I believe, of them, because you can buy them in packs of 6, and they're cheap. So one good thing I like about them is that they will charge DC or AC. So the little charger will take a USB port in the back of it. So you can just USB it right to a floatable solar panel and charge your radios. Another thing I suggest you buy, if you buy if you do buy a Baofeng radio, the UV8R, there's around $25. Beat that, right? To be able to talk to the space station, beat that, right? Is if you're going to get the battery, the AA battery backup pack. It's completely empty. It takes 8 AA batteries and fits on the bottom. Replaces the back of your radio while you're charging one thing or another. The reason that I suggest that is it lasts forever, ever. I once went camping with the radio, and we were using it to keep in touch with our buddies, right? Because everybody has a ham radio license nowadays. So we're all using it on the beach to keep in touch with each other. And I was like, I wonder how long these AA batteries will last. I just used I think, Amazon Basics AA batteries. 3 weeks later, I still had half charge. And I was listening to radio for music because it'll pick up AM and FM as well. It's a really do-it-all radio. If you have 2 of them, you're done. That's all you need. The only thing that I would suggest is that you buy a whip antenna. It comes with a little rubber ducky antenna. It's anybody that knows a little bit about radios understands what a rubber ducky is. It's a little rubber antenna that sticks off the top about 6 inches or so. A whip antenna is a thin little metal one that sticks up off the top, kind of like the one that fits on your car. I guess older cars, right? Like the little metal antenna that fits on your older car. With the little whip antenna, you go from maybe 2 miles to several miles of, and then you can hook from there up all sorts of different antennas and go to the moon, literally. So they work awesome, guys. Super, super, super great. I can't say enough nice things about them. The only thing that I would say that kind of is terrible is you can program them 2 different ways. Through the keypad, which is not very difficult, or through the software onto your computer, which is clunky, weird, and slow. So if you are going to do 6 radios like we have and put the same fill, that means fill, when you're talking about radios, means the same set of data in each one of the radios. Then yes, hooking it up to your computer, spending the time to put in all the frequencies and label everything right and pretty, and then just plugging one radio in after another, dropping it in there, and you're done. Now, another good thing is that I found that these things store forever. You take them apart, you put them in a Mylar bag, and you put the Mylar bag with your individual radios, and inside of what do we got it in? Like a 30 millimeter ammo can?
Mm-hmm.
Like a 30 millimeter ammo can. And now you're EMP proof for your radios forever. Throw in a couple of folding solar panels and wrap the batteries that you do have up in Mylar and throw those in there as well. And now you have a mobile radio communication station to go anywhere. I would also buy a USB DC battery charger it's a universal battery charger. It'll do all the way down to AAAs, all the way up to C's and D's batteries. It'll plug right into your foldable solar panel. And let's bring us to a foldable solar panel. We have 3 in this household. We have one small one that has a Molly on the back of it, and I think it is only a 50-watt little foldable solar panel, and it's designed to hook onto a backpack, and you unfold it, and it rolls down the outside of your backpack and clips on kind of down underneath the bottom of the backpack. So as you're walking throughout the day, you're just charging constantly whatever you have it hooked into, and it has 4 USB ports, and you can hook into your cell phone. You can hook into a battery in the back of your backpack. So just putting a little 12 volt 8 amp battery, like the kind used for a deer feeder, for example, in the bottom of a backpack and charging that thing, it's going to add 4 or 5 pounds of weight. But now you'll be able to jump a small car, charge everybody's cell phone 2 dozen times. Charge every radio you have several times. Start up a radio somewhere else. You can do so bunch of things with that neat little battery. It'll help you quite a bit. Okay, I think then we have a bigger foldable solar panel, and that one just stays in the 30 cal ammo can with its smaller little brother, and that's kind of like our just shit hit the fan type, radio. What's that? Is that a good way to put it? It's just our contingency.
I think everybody
power supply.
Everybody knows universal shit hit the fan. So let's talk about if you don't have a food supplies. If you didn't prepare, for at least a 3-day run without food, you have to leave your house in an emergency, you don't have a bug out bag. How do they forage for food? What would you do?
Well, a long time ago, they used to call humans long pork.
Yeah, not happening. No.
Well, I mean, going without food for a few days as a adult isn't gonna like hurt you.
Right.
Not as an American. Most of us are pretty fat anyway. So that's probably not gonna hurt you. Water is your bigger problem. Water filtration for that. You got the live straws. We already talked about the two different types. Get the one that's the actual filter one, not just the UV one. And rock and roll with that, or a Sawyer or Katadyn system. And then you should be okay. I would suggest that you get a local edible food, an edible wildlife, or like a local edible book. Like Texas has a really cool one. It's like what's edible in Texas, and you can find it in like every checkout at every HEB ever, right throughout the entire state. But online, every state has like a book that just has all the pictures and whatever's edible or whatever season, and rock and roll with it. So you've got that. That's a really pretty universal option. If you one thing I would stay away from 100% is mushrooms. Just stay away from them, guys. Just
Yeah,
in a
unless you know
survival
what you're
situation.
doing. Yeah, unless you know what you're doing.
Even then,
yeah,
there's plenty of people who know what they're doing
and still eat that fatal mushroom.
and still eat. Yeah, every mushroom's edible once.
Yeah, unless you know what you're growing.
Yeah.
You know?
I would stay away from wild mushrooms. There's just too many lookalikes. In a survival situation when you're already hungry and your vision makes everything, your nose makes everything smell good, and you're like, it's probably fine. It's not going to be fine. Just stay away from mushrooms. As far as that, man, in the southern United States really it would seem like we would do really, really good on wild edibles, but it's actually kind of a food desert when it comes to the wild edibles like the Pacific Northwest has. You've got greens and a lot of them, but then you have this big burst of berries and stuff in the spring, and then you have absolutely nothing, and then it gets super hot, and then you have grapes, and then you have nothing until the fall. And as far as vegetables go, now in the Pacific Northwest and also like in the mountainous regions, you've got different microclimates where stuff's available. Like, you've got berries that are up on the top of the mountain or up on the sides of the mountain that are ready a month before the stuff down in the bottom of the mountain. So you've got a gradient of food that's ready, and it's probably why humans evolved to live in mountainous kind of areas and in valleys, just from the sheer amount of things that were ready. Now, one thing that the southern United States does have is protein. We have protein up the wazoo, just tons and tons and tons of protein. We have, tons of fish, tons of different wildlife, tons of exotic wildlife, tons of feral hogs. So we've got food year round, but not a lot of fiber. But yeah, so just know what your local stuff is. I'm not a big fan of like foraging like that.
Yeah.
Just because it's too uncontrolled, and you have to deal with like parasites and making noise and other people. If it's gotten to the point where you need to bug out and carry your food with you, it's much better to carry stuff that requires a very minimal amount of preparedness, and you can just basically grab it and go.
Yeah. And while you're at it, picking up books that show you what's edible in the wild, get one that shows you how to process animals, because that would be good to know, right? You have one of those in your bug out bag in the event that you ever do have to hunt, or fish. You know how to process and clean the fish and what you're doing.
I think it's like called the Country Wisdom Handbook.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one that I'm talking that I remember reading as a kid, that showed you how to process pretty much everything from a squirrel to like a horse. So super useful. But yeah, like definitely one of those things you want to be familiar with before you have to do it. I'm not saying go out there and stalk the squirrels in your neighborhood, But you definitely want to be a little bit familiar with murder before it
Yeah.
becomes time to
Watch some YouTube
actually
videos,
do it.
just learn. And nothing's wrong with learning and building skills, guys.
Give
So,
them some hands-on
yeah,
experience. So,
exactly.
because there's a big
Take a
difference.
course.
Yeah, there's a big difference between you know watching it on YouTube and being isolated from the smells and the mess, and actually getting squirrel blood on you. So yeah, if you've got somebody that knows how to hunt, ask them to take them with you. And then don't complain. Be the cool friend, not the whiny one. If you're like, if you're a propensity to go, ew, stay home. Just don't make their life miserable, because you'll just become something they talk about forever. But yeah, that's about it. I took you hunting. You had a lot of fun.
Yeah, the first time I'd never been hunting, and that was our first date, and it was wild. It was great.
You got this massive murder boner.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like, I have no problem. I now know that I have no problem hunting.
She's not a big fan
or processing
of
food.
You're not a huge fan of like gutting the deer and stuff.
No,
but that doesn't bother me at all. So.
I don't. I mean, but once he like quarters it up and all that, I have no problem. Getting in
once
there
the meat looks like meat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, once the meat looks like meat, she's all good. But it's the problem of taking it from Bambi to looking like meat.
Yeah, I leave that part to him. A
lot of people have problems with it.
But have I seen him do it plenty of times where in an emergency situation, I know what I'm doing and I feel pretty confident? Heck yes. So.
Yeah. I don't have any doubt that you'd be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you did pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of worried that you're probably going to try to process me someday.
I do tend to shank you.
Yeah, you do like to surprise knife fight me. So if you have like a slightly angry Mexican wife and she likes to fake knife fight you, she'll just like hide places and then jump out and be like, knife fight! Yeah, you're like, shake, 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 stab, stab, stab. And you're like, this is not at all helping my PTSD from the war. Right? Like, not even a little. So
it's pretty funny.
You think it's great. Okay, so we have covered some battery power. What was the next one on our list there?
Waste management.
Oh, waste management, going potty. Okay. I am a big fan of those little buckets that you put the little now you can buy them already pre-made, where it's a 5-gallon bucket, and you basically put a plastic bag in the 5-gallon bucket, put the edge of the plastic bag over the 5-gallon bucket, like you would if you're making a trash can, like over the sides. And then you put this seat that has a toilet seat down. It flips and it clips on the top. It's good to go, right? Love it. It works super well. It's nice and tidy and clean. You don't have to yeet the buckets every time you use it. Now, I only use them if you're a guy and you're peeing in the bucket, you're wrong. Go pee on a tree. Go do something like that, right? If you're a girl and you're peeing in the bucket with full with the plastic bag, you are also wrong. Take another bucket that has the bottom removed on it, put it somewhere sandy or over a little hole in the ground, and pee in that. And then you can just throw some dirt or something over the top of it.
Yeah,
the bucket should only be for poo, right? And then just next to the bucket, have some sawdust. Works really well. In another bucket, just sitting there, lime, anything like that to kind of keep the smell down, works great. Or if you just have a plethora of those bags, they're just small little trash bags, like the kind that fit in like a 2-gallon or 3-gallon trash can. They're just small little guys, and so you go potty in there, you take it off, you tie it up, you're gonna go. I personally don't like the whole tying process, so I like to keep like just glued to the side of the bucket. I just took basically like a business, not like a business card, like a piece of construction paper, and glued it on 3 sides of the side, and then just stuffed it full of the smallest zip ties I could find, like little narrow ones. So you take out the potty bag, you just twist it once or twice, wrap your zip tie around it, bam, done. Not have to tie it, not have to worry about touching anything gross. and you can just chuck it in a hole or chuck it into your waste management area to burn later, or however you intend to deal with it from there. It is super easy. It's probably the cheapest and easiest way you get away with that. Outside of long-term building a outhouse, your neighbors are not going to be happy with you if you have a 5-day power outage because of a hurricane and you have now dug a giant poop pit in the backyard and are pooping there. But just having a bucket with some trash bags, throwing them all into one area so you can take care of them later is going to be just fine. It won't smell. Nobody will even know it's there. Good to go, right? So that's kind of my take on that. Do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
No, that pretty much covers everything.
Yeah.
I think with that.
What else? Weather issues. I'm thinking if you're hot, you're cold. What are those blankets that you always recommend? The little silver ones.
The Mylar blankets.
There we go.
Yeah. So here's the problem. I would rather play Zombie Apocalypse when it's cold than Zombie Apocalypse when it's super hot. Because once you're hot, you really can't cool down very easily. But if you're cold, you can always put on more clothes, right? So keeping cool, you're going to have to become crispicular in the heat. So crispicular, there's your $5 word of the day. That means most active during the first couple hours before sunrise, the first couple hours after sun sets, and then being that being your new normal versus don't play around in the middle of the day, whereas the middle of the day is going to be your hottest period. That's where you're going to be using the most water and dipping hardest into your stash, right? So definitely avoid work during the 100, like it's 110 today, literally here. So we did nothing during the hottest part of the day.
Yeah,
we got all of our errands ran super early.
Yep.
And did nothing.
You run most of the errands.
Yeah.
I've been working, so my husband runs all the errands, but he'll take our daughter out, before, like, by 11:30, they're already home. So
yeah, we're done.
They're out and about. They'll go to breakfast. They'll run errands. They'll go to the grocery store, whatever they need to do, and then come back home.
Yeah, they were done. It's way too miserable out there to do anything. So it's just going to have to kind of adapt to your condition. If it's hot and you happen to be out in the middle of nowhere, you're going to want to find the deepest shade you can behind or below the deepest trees cover you can. Trees perspire, and that's how they keep themselves cool, is they always have a little bit of evaporation going. So there's always evaporative cooling, and the deeper and the darker the shade, the more evaporative cooling that's going on. So it's really going to help you out to get underneath the biggest tree and the deepest brush under the biggest tree that you can. Now, be advised, those are places where all the other animals are trying to get to. So you might have to have a contested space there. Keeping warm is pretty self-explanatory. Put on more clothes. Or start a fire.
Yep.
Which is also fun. Starting fires are great. So, fire is awesome. But be cognizant of your fire. Your fire kind of tells everybody in the world where you're at exactly. So you want to be kind of careful about that. So you got to be kind of careful about that. Go get me one. Go get one. I'm sending my toddler on a fetch mission to give me a Coke. Let's see if it works. I kind of gesticulated at the Coke can. Oh, it's working. Oh, it's working. Go team. Yeah, get it. You can do it. Shut it softly. Softly. Be sweet. Go, go, go. Hey, she got it. What? People don't care if we talk about our kids? Like, we're never going to get a sponsorship if you keep talking off about the kids. Like, yeah, we will. So, how are you going to store your stuff? I suggest storing it underneath your bed. It works out super well. So 1 year's worth of food for a family of 4 weighs a little under 1,000 pounds. If you do it according to the LDS supply list. That's going to fit in roughly 2 55-gallon drums or take up the same amount of space as a queen mattress if it's laid out to like a layer underneath your queen mattress. So there are ways to use like your what do you call those? The containers, the storage containers.
The totes.
Yeah. Use your totes as your replacement for your spring
That's
mattress.
where we have our Mylar bags stored in one big DeWalt tote. Is it a DeWalt?
Yeah,
tote?
well, we like the DeWalt. Oh, so DeWalt makes this like I guess it's a mobile toolkit, right? It has like it's designed. It's not designed for like what we use it for. I think it's designed for like a mobile job box. It locks. It has a handle that pulls out and it wheels off like a very very heavy type of like luggage.
DeWalt sponsor us.
DeWalt sponsor us. Yeah, so it works great. We got it at Home Depot. I think it was like $60.
No way, it was more.
It was more
definitely
than
more than 60. Yeah, it was like they were about 120.
No, I wasn't paying attention. But it like a ridiculous amount of food fits in there. It is a huge tote. It's about the size of a recliner. Like several weeks worth of food for our family fits inside of it, and it wheels. And because so we just if we need to ever go anywhere, we can always just wheel it out the door. Any one of us could grab it because it's mostly freeze dried food. Wheel it out the door, throw it in the back of the truck, and we're going to go and live out of it for quite some time. Works out great for us. You guys can come up with your own ways to do things. I like to store stuff in. I like to go to the what do you call them? The Army surplus stores and get all of those 55 caliber, 50 caliber ammo cans, the 30 millimeter ammo cans, things like that, and store stuff in there. My favorite are the 40 Mike cans, the 40 millimeter cans. If you can find those, they work the best, in my opinion, because they're super wide and they're super deep. But they're kind of hard to find. Everybody loves them, and so they kind of bring a premium. I would not be buying ammo cans on Amazon. They are expensive. Whereas you can buy them at your surplus store for less than $10. On Amazon, they want like $15 and $25 in shipping. Excuse me. Okay, let's talk about storing some medicine. Which over-the-counter medicines do you need? What do you think you need?
I think definitely, I mean, it's not over-the-counter, but I would say an antibiotic.
Yeah, antibiotics work great. Lots of antibiotics you can currently still kind of get over-the-counter a little bit if you know what you're doing. Buying them for fish works pretty good. However, the loophole for that is closing. And basically, the stocks that are out there right now is all there is going to be. And the rest of it is going to be have to have a prescription to get it. So if your guppy gets sick, you're going to have to go to a vet and get a prescription. Stupid, I know, but hey, the government's saving us from ourselves. So I would say Tylenol, aspirin, and the aspirins, the 81 milligram ones. Don't get any bigger ones. You don't need them. Just the cheapy 81 milligram are going to be the way to go for those because they're easy to dose with. Ibuprofen, especially for like babies and stuff. Benadryl. Like if you have allergies, like a Zyrtec or Claritin, whichever one of those works best for you. That way you have a non-drowsy alternative to your Benadryl. I would say
not necessarily over the counter, but what about an EpiPen?
Yeah, I mean, if you have somebody that has those kind of allergies, having an EpiPen would be great. But like you'd have to have somebody that has those kind of allergies. Just your rando dude on the street, you don't have a need for an EpiPen. You're gonna be okay without one. If you don't have those kind of allergies, you don't need one.
Benzocaine, like an Orajel?
Yeah, Orajel works really, really good. Benzothoricane, which is like your topical anesthetics. Those work great. Some like Bengay or some of those 2% lidocaine creams work really well. I would say now one of the things that I've found, and old-timey pharmacists still kind of carry them. So if you go to a pharmacy, and not like your Walmart pharmacy, an actual pharmacy, they'll have tooth repair kits, like emergency dental kits. And it's this moldable type, it looks like putty. It comes in a little bitty, looks like a little tiny miniature film container. And you can mold it up, press it into a hole in your tooth or a chip part of your tooth. And then it comes with a little cool tool you can kind of shape it a little bit with. And then you're supposed to leave it there, expose the air for like 4 or 5 minutes. And it's good to go. It gets super hard. And then your dentist can then remove it up, a couple months later. If you hike your way out of the jungle. But I've seen people use those emergency dental repair kits and then not go to the dentist for 6 months and be fine. It gets super hard. You are not going to remove it by yourself. It's going to wear down about the same as your teeth wear down. It's pretty much like JB Weld for teeth. It works out really well. They're worth it. I have a couple of them stored, but you can get them. I haven't bought one in a while, but I bet you they're like $25 to $50 on Amazon. Let's check that out really quick.
Yeah, I think also too, like electrolytes would be really good. Electrolytes, Imodium AD, things for tummy aches.
Yeah. So anything for tummy ache, antidiarrheal medicine is going to be really, really great.
Burn
cream is going to be really good.
Something to quick
clot. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different types of quick clot. I am a big fan of the quick clot gauze. I'm not a big fan of the powder. The powder is going to beat your butt. So it looks like Dentim is going to be the people's
choice.
The people's choice for tooth repair kit. The $12.99 for 3 different types of dental kit on Amazon. So that's going to be really great. I'm actually pretty impressed with that price.
And vitamins, guys, have some vitamins stocked away. If you're in a situation where you're not eating, or you're eating very scarcely, or whatever.
Yeah, if you're living off of ramen and rats.
Yeah, you might want to have some vitamins.
Yeah, just a generic multivitamin is going to be fine. Yeah, it'll keep you from getting iron deficiencies and all sorts of bad stuff that happens with long term of that. Yeah, so we got some dental care kind of going on. We've got antidiarrheal medication. I would take some, and this is something that might be a little bit controversial, is I take some sleeping pills besides like your Benadryl, like some doxylamine succinate, because you might be somewhere that's safe, but you might have a really hard time sleeping because you're just so wound up. And if it's your turn to sleep and you've got a couple hours or so, 8 or 9 hours of downtime, you're going to need to sleep, not just sit there and stare off into space. So being able to take a sleeping pill and knocking yourself out for a little while is going to be a good way to go. And I would suggest doxylamine instead of like Ambien or Lunesta, because doxylamine's over the counter and it doesn't leave you like a zombie. So if you have to wake up suddenly 4 hours after you've taken the pill, you can do it and be functional instead of like Ambien, not know where you're at and end up driving, into a wall. Or like a Lunesta where you just hallucinate and think everybody's out to get you. So, yeah, good times, Lunesta. Lunesta's like being gently hit by that moth in the face with a sledgehammer. You're just surprised you're asleep. And you're going to stay that way. Feminine hygiene products.
Yeah, we already covered those.
Okay, so we're just going to call it feminine hygiene products?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, women
those of you, okay, so those of you that own a feminine part or identify as a feminine part, get your emergency feminine replacement. I don't know, what is that? Like a used tire change kit?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's a tire change kit.
Yeah, it's basically like an undercarriage, wash, repair kit, oil change kit, whatever you need. Just make sure that you have that with you.
Yeah.
And the accompanying pills. I will say, however, that probably the best thing for a migraine in the entire world is Midol. Hands down. It doesn't matter who you are, guy, girl, doesn't matter. Midol works great. Take care of your teeth, take care of your feet. Antifungals for your feet.
Keep your feet dry.
Keep your feet dry. Yes. Every chance you get, take your boots off, let your feet breathe. That kind of fun stuff. Wear your tactical Crocs because they're tactical because you're wearing them. You make them tactical. The person makes the Crocs, not the Croc makes the person.
Exactly.
So,
sport mode.
Yeah, sport mode. This is where you put the little strap back, behind your heel.
I'm a hey dude kind of girl, so.
So when you get to your flashlights, things like that, I'm a big fan of LED, not a big fan of incandescent. Yeah. Let's see. And then I like the Amazon Basics batteries, but I like the lithium ones, not the non-lithium ones. Have you seen the non-lithium ones? I don't like that.
What about a fire? Like, what's the best way to start a fire?
With a lighter.
Well, yeah, but what if people don't have a lighter?
Have another lighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not being very helpful right
now. No,
now.
I'm not. Because, everybody's watched TV on one of those survival shows for 15 minutes. Notices how big everybody struggles with trying to make, caveman-style fire. Whereas Bic lighters are really, really cheap. In fact, on Amazon, which I've done.
Yeah, I know. I remember I had a lot of lighters.
Yeah, I bought an entire case of them. There's 144 lighters for $29 of the large Bic lighters. And I'd say that they ended up in every piece of equipment we own.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's 4 for the car door. Here's one in the glove compartment. Camping? Yes, I'll put one in every pair of pockets I got, the very bottom of the pockets. So yeah, having the best thing for a fire is a lighter.
Lighter fluid?
Just the
Should
lighter.
They have lighter fluid?
Nah.
Okay.
144 lighters for $20 is going to last you a very long time. If you just want to be one of those people who loves LARPing and just really wants to look cool with a fire starter of some type, there's all sorts of those, those Magneto matches where you just have it's a spring-loaded flint and steel, and you just kind of press down it and shoot sparks. It's cool. Does it work? Yes. Is it that cool? No. Is it going to work any better than your Bic lighter? Not at all. I think the government spent a lot of money trying to find something that worked better than Bic lighter, and they never did. So everybody's gonna be like, but my Zippo, your Zippo has one big flaw, guys, and you know what that is? Lighter fluid.
I was just gonna say that's why I said lighter fluid. Make sure you pack some lighter
No,
fluid.
now you've got. Well, the Bic lighters don't use lighter fluid; they use compressed gas. But if you have to carry that lighter fluid somewhere, you have something that can spill, and if that lighter fluid spills on stuff, it eats plastic. And if your bag has plastic in it, made of plastic, and your food's in there with plastic on it, it's going to eat through everything and it's going to suck. As far as a first aid kit goes, we talked about quick clot gauze. The reason I don't recommend your average, everyday, random civilian carries anything that has to do with quick clot is because they don't know when to use it. They get panicky. They see some bleeding and they're like, I've got the thing for this. And they throw their quick clot on there and they cause more damage than they cause good. Quick clot and the likes is only going to be for uncontrolled bleeding. This means that a little bit of pressure or a lot of bit of pressure doesn't stop the bleeding. It just keeps bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. Then you throw your quick clot gauze in there. And then you can throw your stop bleeding aid of any type in there. Because how it works is that it's full of all these little tiny holes that are smaller than the actual blood cells. So it uses basically a super fast capillary. Is that the word? Capillary? Mm-hmm. Capillary action that separates out the actual blood cells from the plasma liquid in the blood, leaving behind a giant blood clot. And this happens very, very fast. And anytime something happens super fast on a chemical level, it generates a lot of heat. The first rounds of quick clot used to leave second-degree burns on people who would use it. Since then, it has left. It's gotten a lot better because they've slowed down the action a little bit by impregnating it in gauze, but it still gets uncomfortably warm and can end up causing, free-range clots inside of your body if you are not careful with how you apply it. Tourniquets are great. If you watch any sort of cop show or YouTube channel, some dude will get slightly winged in the arm or leg, and everybody pulls out their tourniquets, tackles the guy down, and throws a tourniquet on it. The only time you need a tourniquet is if you're squirting blood to the moon or you have bleeding that cannot be controlled by any other way. You're not going to throw a tourniquet on a through-and-through bullet wound that's trickling blood because it's controlled bleeding, right? Even if it's just barely trickling blood, you're good. We're talking about squirt blood, tourniquet. Tourniquets it's okay for your police officer to throw a tourniquet on whatever they want because they're 5 minutes from the hospital. And once they get to the hospital, we immediately cut it off them and go, yeah, you didn't need to do that. And they go, but my tourniquet said I did. And so you don't really need to do that. Improper use of tourniquets during World War I and World War II cost a lot of people limbs. That was a beautiful yodeling sound provided by our toddler and a piece of PVC. She made a musical instrument. Other than that, all of just like band-aids, the smaller little stuff is what gets you. Little cuts, little scrapes. Treat everything. You get a hangnail, treat it. Like actually wash it off and treat it. Hydrogen peroxide is good for a lot of things, although hydrogen peroxide does have a tendency to oxidize nice new cells in the area and make healing last longer on like big scrapes, right? Where you've skinned an area, then hydrogen peroxide is not going to be the appropriate thing. Iodine would work a little bit better for that. But having just a quart of each, a quart of alcohol, a quart of rubbing up, iodine, and a quart of hydrogen peroxide, and some witch hazel, add some other stuff in there. Some calamine lotion for bites, for insect bites, things like that, rashes. All that stuff is going to help. It's going to make your life a little bit easier. Dust masks. Yeah, I mean, come on. It's everybody and their mom at this point should have a pretty healthy supply of masks in their
agreed.
Yeah, in their possession. I have
some in my glove compartments too.
Yeah. So moist towelettes, those are great. My favorite ones are like the larger wipe type. So not like baby wipes work really well, but I like the large like dude wipe types, things like that. Just because they're basically those ones are designed to be used as kind of a substitute for a bath. They're very large, and if you can find the bath substitute towelettes, those are going to be working a lot better for you for like hitting your pits or around your neck area or like anywhere you need. If you go a couple of days without a shower, they really bring your spirits back up. And a toolkit, come on, it's just self-explanatory. All your regular tools, just a wide variety is going to be great for you. Just regular, just whatever you need for like a regular homeowner's toolkit. Pliers, vice grips, a couple of two sizes of pipe wrench, a small one, a big one, hammers, just the whole 9 yards. You're not going to come into a situation where you're going to wish like, man, I wish I really didn't have so many tools in my house, right? And then a manual can opener. All can openers are not the same. We have gone through a bunch of different can openers and found that Swingline is the best of the best of the best can opener. Our Swingline can opener has lasted us for a very long time, and we have the one that has the larger crank handle. So it's not like the little bitty handle. Ours has like this like 5-inch handle. And man, you could like 2 rounds of it and it'll open like a number 10 can. It is amazing. It's sharp. It's great. Swing line, best can opener in the business. Yeah, they're great. What else you got, lady?
I'm trying to think what else.
Local maps.
Yeah, local maps. Yeah,
offline, like not just on your cell phone.
Yeah. So I mean, if you have no access to power, you have no access to internet. So like anything you can print beforehand, that you think will be helpful. Creating a binder of like things that you want to print off. How to build XYZ, how to make a poor man's Berkey, how to things like that. Definitely recommended. 10 out of 10.
Don't forget stuff for your dog.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like dog food or pet food.
Yep.
Your cat will be fine. Just kick it. It'll go kill something.
But your dog,
definitely dog. Diaper rash ointment. It's not just for babies. It's for you, in case you get rash somewhere. It's pretty common. People to get like a sweat rash somewhere. Throw some of that on there is good. A good sleeping bag for everybody. I do not suggest anybody use a sleeping bag under double size. Like the double size sleeping bags are great. Even if you're not a big person or want to fit 2 people in a sleeping bag, having the extra room to be able to shove your clothes down there with you for like tomorrow morning. So if you're in a cold environment, sleeping with tomorrow's clothes, it makes all the difference in the world. Clean clothes, just shove down in your bag so that they're warm for you to put on first thing in the morning. It's a win, man. It's a win. Hard win. So yeah, it's double sleeping bags are the way to go. That way you can also kind of like double it up and use it as a you could roll up in a little bit and stay super extra warm. This is saying ready.gov says a fire extinguisher. I mean, yeah, sure, I guess. Just don't make fires inside. Anything that's going to get out of control outside is like beyond your control. Mess kits. Just use paper plates, paper cuts, plates, towels, plastic utensils, that kind of stuff for the short term, long term. Check out your local camping area of your store. We have these really cool like blue plates. They're like enamel coated blue plates.
Camping plates.
Yeah, camping plates. We use those all the time. I just use them for dinner. And they're indestructible.
I inherited those from pre-marriage, pre-dating. Yeah, they were yours.
Yeah.
He was total bachelor, guys, and he had a bunch of camping gear as his kitchen utensils.
Because it worked so well.
Terrible. But I still have them. So.
Live how you prepare. Prepare how you live. America. And then just to kind of round this out is books, games, puzzles, other activities to keep kids active. I would also entertain. I would like to add one extra thing to there is stash a little bit of candy. All right. It doesn't have to be a bunch. It doesn't have to be like anything crazy, but stashing a little bit of candy so that you could be the cool kid who pops out with it. Like when morale sucks or something like, yeah, man, I'm tired of pooping in the toilet. Would you like some chocolate? You can really lift some spirits pretty easily. You can tame an angry wife. You can, take a toddler from throwing a fit to happy. Just stash it. Don't let anybody else know where it's at. Just so that you have it just to dole out to raise spirits and be the cool kid for that. That's going to pretty much round up our contingency kind of stuff. We noticed we did not talk about firearms.
Let's not talk about firearms.
We're not going to talk about firearms in this one.
Yeah,
that's a long talk, and that'll be a whole different episode. But as far as just regular everyday stuff goes for short-term emergencies,
I think we got everything covered.
This is a pretty standard short list. I mean,
it's a pretty common list.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of stuff, guys, but it's like really a shopping cart full of stuff. And you can go get it from a dollar store. You can check out places online. Let's see. Let's drop a couple of our favorite places. FamilyOTC.com. So that's OTC stands for over the counter, which is going to be FamilyOTC.com. is an online pharmacy, basically, that does like over-the-counter stuff. All your wound care essentials and stuff there is going to be really, really cheap. Like your 4x4s, your Ace bandage wraps, all of that stuff is going to be stupid cheap there. Like really, really, really cheap. So that works really well. Get some butterfly bandages so that if you do have like a pretty decent cut, you can use your butterfly bandages to kind of close it up a little bit after you've irrigated the wound. I like to irrigate with that compressed, it's like called wound wash, but it's compressed saline. It's just saline in a spray bottle. It works really well. It's sterile. You can use it to flush out eyes. You can use it to flush out wounds. You can use it for just about everything. Doesn't ever expire. Doesn't ever go bad. Super easy to use. Super easy to good stuff. Make sure to take care of your feet. So that's including like get some moleskin. So you can. I like the big pads of moleskin so that I can cut it to size and cut it to shape. That's going to help you immensely if you have any sort of foot issues. But you should not be bugging out or going on a crazy hike with brand new boots you've never broke in. You should be bugging out in comfortable stuff that you've actually worn around. Because you're going to go and pop on your brand new Doc Martens, go out there and end up with blisters everywhere and can't walk. And you're just a gimpy gazelle at that point. I think that pretty much does it for that. Let's get into our plant of the tree of the day. Let's do our tree of the day real quick. The tree of the day is going to be the Clamidin orange. Is that how I said it? Clamidin. Anyway, it's a little bitty orange. It's really cute. It's adorable. It grows great inside and outside. Everybody can grow it from zone 2 to zone 11. So it says most often grown as a beautiful ornamental. The Clamidin orange tree, sometimes called a clemency or a miniature orange, also produce edible fruit. It is a cross between a mandarin orange and a kumquat. It is originally from China. It has been grown in Florida since the early 1900s and has been a popular potted plant for decades. The fruit tree is also known for being used as a bonsai. It actually gets a little bit bigger than that, guys. I'd say it probably gets about 5 or 6 feet tall if you let it and grow it in a garbage can, which is my favorite way to grow citrus. Like that, unless it's in the ground, it's in a garbage can. Like I grow them in those like 20-gallon gray garbage cans. I just take like a half-inch drill bit and drill holes around the bottom, and then fill it with a good citrus mix of potting soil, and that way I can just wheel it in and out using a hand truck when in and out of the garage when the weather gets crappy. Other than that, the plants will live their entire life in there and give you tons of little oranges. It also goes on to say this is the perfect plant to accent your patio or sunroom with this bonus of citrus fruit. Enjoy attractive green leaves, beautiful white blossoms, and orange-scented flowers. The Clamidin oranges are a vibrant yellow-orange. The tree produces fruit year-round. Planted Clamidin trees should be brought indoors for the winter months. Clamidin oranges look like small oranges. They are slightly sour, making them more like limes and lemons in taste and use. The peels are edible. The fruit is often eaten whole. One cool thing about these is they candy really well. You take yourself a fork and you stab like all 4 sides of these things. And you drop them in like a simple syrup. And you pop that whole simple syrup in your refrigerator. And then you can take those guys out then and then add them to, whiskey, vodka, all sorts of stuff. Or just eat them as like a treat that way. It takes out a lot of that. Then you have your simple syrup that is now flavored like with them that you can then make sodas and everything else out. They have fiber, potassium, and very importantly, vitamin C and vitamin A. The fruit is prized for marmalades. Bakers enjoy using Clamidin oranges and recipes to replace lemons and limes, such as bars, tarts, and cookies. So grown on the ground, they get 6 to 10 feet tall. They're self-pollinating, so you don't need another one. They produce true fruit inside, outside, however you want to do it. If you're going to do inside, it says to use a small paintbrush to pollinate them. Never wanted to do it like that. Always used a vibrating toothbrush. Just vibrate the side of the limb that all the ones are on. They'll the fruit, the pollen will fall from the pistil down into it, and it'll do its thing. That's about it, guys. So they're not grown commercially. It's kind of a weird one. It's a real fun one. It's I like it. If you get a chance to get one, get one. It'll help keep you in vitamin C. Also, when they're flowering, which is probably about every other month, they smell amazing, and your house smells amazing as well. What do you got for? You got any other news stuff?
No, it was just the submarine stuff, which we already covered. So
how's all the wheat and everything doing? Like, yeah, it's a. I remember they're saying that something about they were running out of supplies somewhere, but yeah, everything was kind of going to crap as far as food wise. You were too busy looking at TikTok. She gives me the meanest looks of the entire world. So commodities, as far as commodities go, have you guys ever seen that? I've been watching the commodity prices. The beef, feeder beef has gone up quite a bit, and then we were predicting that, if you remember, that originally beef was going to kind of go up a little bit, then it's going to come down real quick because nobody can afford to feed anything. And then next year it's going to be super expensive because there's just not going to be any feed. That's one thing that I'd be watching out for in the future, is that just meat prices are going to go crazy, guys. Meat, eggs, cheese, anything animal feed derivative that's reliant on all of these imports of grain, cheap feed stuff, and also on our local crops. You're like not failing is going to be pretty expensive. Let's see. Plant of the day. What was the plant of the day? Was a gooseberry. So gooseberries are pretty awesome. They're a relative of the currant, which is in a family that has a really interesting, crazy name. It's called a ribes or ribs. Right. I'm gonna call it ribes. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong because the British named it, and they name everything wrong. So gooseberries, for some reason, they're not super popular down in the South, even though they do grow down here. And they're more popular overseas. It's indigenous to many parts of Europe and Asia. It grows all over the place, from France eastward. It grows all over America as well. Growing up in Idaho, they were pretty common. I like them. They're kind of like, to me, kind of a little bit more sour version of a grape. If you get the green ones, they're pretty sour. The red ones are much sweeter. There's a bunch of domesticated versions of them. Commonly, they're raised from cuttings rather than seed. Cuttings planted in autumn will take root quickly, begin to bear fruit within a few years. But they also do great from seed as well. So fruit are produced on the lateral spurs of the previous year's shoots. So it'd be like a floricane blackberry, kind of. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense to me. You want to prune them to keep them open so they don't get any sort of fungal issues. They do get funguses pretty easily. White pine blister rust is a big problem with them in the mountain states. They are surprisingly good for you. They've got tons of vitamin A. These little guys have 33% of your vitamin C. So growing some gooseberries are going to be good for you and easy to use. Super easy to go. Gooseberries, you can find them all over the United States. Anywhere that you're going to get out there that the ground has been disturbed and then not disturbed for a long time. So fire, like your fire cutting lane, telephone lines, areas, things like that. Good spot. That's going to pretty much do it for the day, guys. I don't got much anything else to you, lady.
Nope.
That's the sound of happiness and sunshine. And we're going to call it, and hey, Little Beast, do you have anything else? She's like, dramatically, no. Super dramatically, though. We wish you guys the best. We thank you for listening. Guys, we're picking up a bunch of people there in Australia. Hey, they liked the hydroponic episode. Everybody liked the hydroponic episode. It was the best one we've done so far.
Mm-hmm.
People just like growing with water. Is there anything you guys want to hear about specifically? Please shoot us an email. It'd be ThisFeralLifePodcast@gmail.com.
We've gotten a couple of emails already, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. We like hearing from you guys. So far, it's all been positive. Nobody's said, go jump off a cliff. So that's worked out pretty well.
Thank you guys so much. We will talk to you next week, and we will. What is our topic going to be next week?
I don't know yet.
We don't know yet. It'll be a surprise topic.
We'll figure it out. We'll probably go off some suggestions that we get on our social media. Speaking of which, we made pickles today, and I forgot to upload that. So I'm going to have to upload the pickle pictures to Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, you can find us on Facebook as This Feral Life. You can find us on Instagram as This Feral Life as well. We appreciate a like and a follow on both of those. As far as that, I don't think we've actually gotten anything else. We have the Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's thisferallife.etsy.com. And with that, guys, thank you very much. We love our listeners. Go Australia. You guys are picking up like crazy. And Poland. We got a bunch of people from Poland now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is different. I don't know how to say we love you in Poland. But
I think we love you is universal.
Okay. All right, guys. And thank you much.
Good night.